And everyone's coming back to the plenary. Welcome back, everyone. Looks like you all had a great time. And I'm going to hand it back over to Sue. Sue is on mute.
So we had a wonderful discussion. It would be great to hear from each of the groups. How about the first peace group?
Farhang's group. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
You're on mute.
Who wants to say something about our get together? Because I talk too much. So, Jim, would you like to summarize what we talked about?
Sure. We covered a lot of ground, as someone already said. It was good ground. I like the integration of the elements that we talked about: climate change, peace. We were lucky to have a couple young people in the group, which is absolutely critical, because some of us won't be here to finish this walk out. They're the ones that are going to pick up the banners. So yeah, that was very good. I think education entered into everything we were saying, and the fact that education will help provide for long-term change rather than just short-term change. We humans sometimes get too hung up in short-term change and forget that this has to go in the indigenous tradition to 7 generations. We're supposed to think about generation 7 forward, and education, I think, allows for that. So did I cover what you wanted, Frank?
Ms. Kimberly, what do you think? What were your thoughts on our conversation?
Yes, everything what Jim was saying, and I like the way how you explain things, Farhan. And I forgot to mention how important for the youth. That's very important, because a lot of us, I know I'm getting old. I might not be here to see the end results. So it's important that we reach out to the youth so they won't have to inherit the mess that we old people created. And so that's important to get out. Like go to the universities or the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, things like that.
Wonderful.
Thank
you. And Wandra, would you like to report from your group?
Oh, I'd love to. This was such a wonderful group of people. I was so happy and pleased to get to know some of them. That we talked about some of these issues in a different way. A lot of some people shared some book resources that they thought would be good to continue this conversation. One called Braiding Sweet Grass, one called 11, and of course one of the members of our group facilitates discussion and ongoing discussion on that book. Another book called The Color of Law, and then one last book called All You Can Save, which is a compilation of essays and poems, which really seems to touch on all of the subjects that we are discussing, education, peace, sustainability. And then so the people shared their different perspectives and journeys, and Wangari Maathai was called to remembrance in this group today, because she's a great person to really emulate or exemplify justice, peace, and institutions, because she was able to work on so many levels, as you know, and get such a lot done for sustainability, for the climate, for the planet, for peace. We talked about residential justice, about the intersection of race and climate change, sustainability and peace, and how all of those things come together, and the need to work with other institutions, like-minded institutions. And one person mentioned that we have World Religion Day coming up on January 17th, and that, that would be a great opportunity to highlight all of these things again for everybody, because, we can't compartmentalize all these different issues. They are so interconnected. But Pastor Noah made a good point. He said, we have to make the world a better place, and we cannot be divided. We are one people. And so we just have to join hands to address all of these issues.
Beautiful. And my group was on partnerships for the goals. And we talked about finding the groups in our local, individuals and groups in our local community that are working on climate or environmental issues. And we came up with a wonderful list. And what I'd like to suggest is that we have a way to share some of these where they ran from Interfaith Power and Light. I'm involved with Green Faith, and these are specifically faith-based groups that are working on climate issues. Also, we recently came in touch with the director of the Climate Action Office, I guess, or anyway, the Climate Action for the Parliament of the World's Religions. And so we will be talking about how we can kind of offer these sustainable development goals as a way of bringing all of these many groups together. The Pachamama Alliance, Climate Reality, Sierra Club, the lots of local groups that are happening. And then we talked about just working one-on-one with people or in small groups, such as firesides and devotionals in your home, inviting people to carry on this conversation. So, yep, there's just lots going on. And if we become aware and willing and open, you find a lot of opportunities. Climate Reality, yes, is one of them. Citizens Climate Lobby in the US. There's so many, and we will be sharing them. What I'd like to do is share my screen again. And see this one to go on to the next slide. I need to present. Hold on. Sorry. Move this so I can present. Yeah, so if we can, why don't we take about 3 minutes to do this part? And what we have is the specifics of how you as an individual can bring this climate action for peace into your own community, and think about what support you would need to do that. So let me play a little music while you think about that and write. Just take a few minutes to share in your chat. Thank you, sweetie. If you would share in the chat your thoughts, maybe just a sentence about that. Thank you so much. My grandson is visiting. He's brought me a little gift. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Jenny has a question. She says, which interfaith climate groups have local chapters? I would like to bring together our city faith groups into an existing structure. And what city are you in, Jenny?
I'm in Sunnyvale, California.
Okay.
Well, it's hard to tell which ones are existing already in your community. You'll have to search that out. But the ones that I would recommend looking for are the Green Faith, Interfaith Power and Light. Christine, maybe you know more. I was just telling my group that we have a new connection with the Climate Action Director at the Parliament of the World's Religions. And so we'll be working to create some activities that you can do in your own community. So we're seeing service projects about it. Wonderful. Good. Okay, So let me just finish this last slide and then we will be done. Thank you for sticking with us. We're running a little over time. So now I'd like you to just put into the chat how you feel when you hear climate action for peace. We started with this question. How do you feel about it now?
We have a couple of comments about things that they can do, which you asked earlier, Sue. One person says, join existing group and add my voice to the chorus. Another says, talk about it with friends, do service projects, support, look for support from knowledgeable people and do research. One says, write to local supermarkets to put pressure on them for them to become plastic free. Another says, reach out to the Florida Gulf Coast University and its Earth Charter program to develop activities about protecting the environment and pursuing peace. And another says, the process of collective education around sustainability, grassroots groups studying the problem together and thinking creatively about solutions on a regular basis. Another says, I can continue to be a model for peace and climate change in my community. I choose not to have a vehicle, so I walk or bike in the summer everywhere. I continue to lobby governments at all levels and give financial aid to the David Suzuki Foundation. And then we have a quote here. Well, Nadir Sayedi, in text and context, says that peace is a verb that originally meant restore and rebuild. Joanne says she's grateful for multiple paths to walk together once we find them. And Pastor Noah is very interested to network and collaborate in Kenya. He believes that we are all one people who can all unite and make our planet a better place to live in. Florence plans to do another devotional gathering on the climate energy emergency conversation using the slides which Sue has made. And she also wants to plant the question to the individuals as to one or more things they can do to foster preservation of the environment. Christine says, climate action for peace is a good expression. Peace must stand at the beginning and at the end. We need united climate efforts for them to be effective. Climate action is also essential to establish peace because climate change is an issue of justice, and there is no peace without justice. And lastly, Esther says she participates in the Canadian group for the love of creation initiated by the United Church of Canada. So that's another group that has been initiated by a faith-based organization.